This is not from me, but this comes from PCGamer.com, written by Andy Chalk. Google teases its vision for the future of gaming at keynote at GDC. Earlier today, we got a look at a patent filing from Google for a controller notification system that will inform users when their online pals are getting up to things. It's all very vague, and in fact, Google emphasized that the accompanying illustration is not representative of the actual device, but only intended to provide a, quote, a fundamental understanding of the disclosed subject matter and the various ways in which it may be practiced, unquote. We speculated that the filing might be related to whatever it is that Google expected to announce during the GDC keynote next week. A keynote that the company is now teasing for a brief new video that is even less informative than the patent filing. There's a stadium tunnel, a backstage hallway, a cavern, a garage, a cargo plane ramp, some kind of fantasy fungus tunnel, a spaceship launch bay, and the crumbling castle corridor. The common theme being that in each of them are staging areas or portals through which you will step on your way to more interesting places and things. I totally forgot it was it's happening next week, the Google GDC thing. But GDC is hinting at something. Here's what I'm going to say, because I feel like what we're going to get out of Google is basically a device to stream your games from. I think that's pretty much what is going to happen, unless Google comes in swinging saying, no, we're really in the game industry now. We're going to sign exclusives and whatnot and have games being ported onto our system or whatnot. Yeah, it's... I never thought I'd hear the phrase fantasy fungus tunnel. I know.
That's what made me laugh. I was like, I read that, just started cracking up.
Yeah, Google is with this teaser that you're seeing right now on screen. Like, they are definitely. Oh, thanks for the sub, Prime Man. Like it is definitely, Google is definitely teasing it and making it, and want to make a statement, but like basically saying like, yes, we are entering the game industry. Yes, we are not playing around. This is for real. We will show you next week. And not sure if you saw the controller that was out there, the patent for it, which was basically I should have brought the picture. Basically, think of the white controller, think of the 360 controller, but the top is completely flat, and the top of the buttons area was also very flat. So yeah, like it's again, I think that this is basically a streaming box for Google, and I think that's going to be, again, a lot of talk about streaming games to console is becoming much more of a conversation now than ever was.
Yeah, I think I don't know if streaming box is per se what they're trying to do. If you're talking about like streaming games, or are you talking about streaming to like Twitch or something like that?
Streaming games, like basically being able to play games over in internet, and not downloading them or not owning them in that aspect, but. Because that talk has definitely been picked up recently, more so than ever, especially with Microsoft, with their new console with the diskless console that they're talking about, and that's going to have all digital, and it's going to be just streaming games, but also pretty much a download option, I'm assuming. But the future and talk of games being streamed over the internet to play, which on one side that's really cool.
It's so hard. That's so hard to do.
Exactly. Because on one side, I like the idea, but on the other side, our internet infrastructure, I don't think supports it at that point yet, because of the data caps, because of
right. That's my point.
Yeah,
It's people are going to want to play games in the highest quality that they can. 4K TVs are becoming cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. So to introduce a console essentially, or a device that allows them to stream games, like it just doesn't, it wouldn't work.
It's
like what they're going to have to do, Anthony, is basically create if they do this, they're going to have like a Game Pass sort of situation. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. I would not put it past them to do that, because that's another thing that's been popping up more and more recently too, is like having games as a subscription service. And we've seen the success of Game Pass with Microsoft, and Google can definitely go in that same direction.
That phrase, games as a subscription service, is different than this, because that term means like what WoW is, you know.
Right. Well, I'm going to say like the platform using a subscription to play these games on.
Right.
Yeah.
That they're gonna have to do that. There's no other way around it.
I think.
Like if they want to fail, they can do streaming games, but
I'm very curious to see what they say next week regarding that and what information comes out of it. The one thing is, and I mean, this conversation has been brought up once again, and just going to go back on it. Our at least when it comes to United States, we have data caps depending on what your provider is, and as we've seen games get bigger and bigger, we get more gigs of space that's used up, especially for day one downloads, especially for other games that might be huge, and it takes up a lot of data off your internet, which some people may not have the option to do so, especially in other countries, which their data caps may be much more harsher than ours over here. So, like, can it be done? Technically,
not right now.
Yeah, technically yes, but like we're still working on our internet infrastructure when it comes to US.
Right.
So,
I mean, it can be done in terms of technology. It's the issue of, like you said, like we have data caps. We have situations where, you know, like I can only do I think 1,000 gigabytes a month before it's like an overcharge sort of thing.
Yeah.
Which is crazy when you think about it. Like 1,000 gigs is not that much. And if I were to stream a game, let's say a 4K quality game, I'd use a huge chunk of that easily in a night. Yes,
absolutely. So at some point, I feel like it's going to come to two things. One, when we're talking about the internet future, we're talking about, you know, this is the direction that the game industry might be going down towards. The game, this is me theorizing, but I feel like at some point the game companies and game industry needs to talk to these companies, these internet providers, because one cannot be without the other in terms of what the internet can provide, especially with these data caps. And the more games that are much more in higher space-wise, I feel like at some point, like these game companies need to talk to these internet providers and say, like, hey, like we need to discuss this, because how we're gonna handle it, like how exactly. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like there's some internet providers that provide unlimited internet for a high price, and you don't have to worry about it, but that is something going to be consistently be a problem for a lot of people who can't afford it. And then in chat, Django put in chat, I honestly don't see the infrastructure getting better.
Just pronounced Django, by the way.
Oh.
Just to throw that. Yeah. No, I did the same thing. Trust me.
Gotcha. Django says, I honestly don't see the infrastructure getting better in the short term enough to meet the demand of a service like this. And you're right. I think so. Like at the moment, it can be done, but I don't. Can it meet to the standards a lot of people hope so? I don't think so.
God damn it, Ryan. Thanks to Anthony. Yeah, it's just I really hope that Google can throw a wrench into the gaming market by saying, like, this is what we should be doing, and that people kind of follow suit. I really hope so, because there seems to be a lot of like tension and strife, and I think I still feel that Microsoft and Nintendo are making the right steps.
Mm-hmm.
I think PlayStation's like, they're still stuck in their ways.
Yeah.
If we can move towards that one console future, that would be fantastic. But maybe Google can initiate that. I don't know. We'll see. I think their controller is garbage looking, by the way. The controller looks terrible.
I'm very curious to see how it feels, honestly. I'm very curious how it feels. The one thing I do want to bring up, and something I talked about last week, is that I'm very curious to see what Google does, because I'm pretty sure in years prior past, especially with Microsoft, people doubted Microsoft. They didn't think that they're gonna do well in the game industry. When they look at Microsoft entering the game industry, they're like, "What have they done? They've made Microsoft Word, made Microsoft, OS, PC. Like, how the hell? What do they know about the game industry?" And then lo and behold, they made the Xbox and its legacy right now with the Microsoft Xbox console. So the same thoughts, I'm pretty sure, are going through a lot of people's mind with Google. Can Google do the same thing? Can Google go in and break shit up and
I think
become
Google has a. I also think Google has a bit of a more forward leg than Microsoft did at that point.
Yeah, because Google has a pretty damn foothold on part of the internet. YouTube.
Mobile games is a big aspect, so I think they see that. Like, people argued, "Oh, Microsoft has games on their Windows platform," but this is a bit different. This is a bit of a different situation. So I do think that Google has a better understanding than Microsoft, but they could be also too ambitious. So there's a lot of avenues that this could take. So I'm interested. You said it's on the night there, or at least the Eclipse is on the 19th.
Yeah. So it's gonna be it's gonna be I was gonna say next week, but it's gonna be actually next week, next Tuesday, exactly next Tuesday. So we'll definitely get to find out pretty soon. Me and Greg will be keeping an eye on this closely. There's a lot of things at GDC that's gonna be insane, that's going to be talked about. So all right, moving on to our next topic at hand. Valve,
just so you guys know, there's a word that's going to be in this article frequently.
This is reported off verge.com, written by Nick Stat. Valve says they won't publish